That's right. We're on live. We're gonna get this thing done one way or another. What's up to y'all?
Okay, welcome to Third Eye Visions. Give me a second, y'all. We are live, and we will be discussing a very interesting topic. Okay, can you hear me, guests?
Yes, I hear you.
How are you doing today?
I am fine.
Okay, great to have you. We're going to be discussing a very interesting topic today. My name is Anthony Parker, your host of Third Eye Visions, and the music that you hear in the background has been provided by my man, Jeff Wayne. I want to thank Jeff for sending me this. If y'all have any tracks y'all want me to play in the back of the music, behind the music, y'all can send them to me. So again, thanks to Jeff. Also, y'all, in the near future, I have a special announcement. I'm gonna just give y'all a little peek of it right now. I, along with a very special person, is going to be creating, we're going to be getting into the embroidery business. So if there's NT1 out there who is looking for someone to do some designs on shirts, glasses, cups, plates, any type of embroidery, hit us up. I'm gonna let you know more about it. Probably show you some of the things that we will be doing. So the Third Eye Visions franchise is moving more toward a lot of other things, some bigger and better things. It's still gonna be the YouTube channel. It's still gonna be, everything's gonna be Third Eye Vision. So that's what's up with that. But in the meantime, I'm going to get to the subject at hand. I'm happy that it's Friday. I still got to go to this place of business, but I think it's gonna be okay day for me. Anyway, welcome to Third Eye Visions, where we motivate the blind, stimulate your mind, and welcome all kinds. There you go. What is it again?
Welcome all kinds.
Okay. We welcome all kinds. Black, white, Asian, it doesn't matter. Today's topic: do you think kids today deserve to be ass whipped? Now, I use that ass whip as a little catchy thing to get y'all thinking, you know what I'm saying? Because by no means, this is only a discussion. By no means are we advocating go out and whip your kids. Do not think that this is what this title is all about. So don't turn away and say, oh, they believe they advocate. No, we ain't doing it. Now, please stay tuned, because there's a lot of interesting information that my guest is going to provide to you today. Make sure you like, share, comment, and most of all, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can get updates on, especially on interesting topics such as this. So we're not always talking about blindness. We're gonna always dive into a little other things. And I'm glad that I have my lovely guest all the way from the great country of Israel to help me from time to time. Today, I welcome my guest to join me. Her name is Debbie. She has been a reoccurring guest on the show. Now, look, when it comes to discipline, that's a very touchy subject, as I mentioned, amongst all individuals, because there are varying opinions about it. Such things as how to discipline, different methods, techniques, etc. But in this video, my guest and I will discuss whether kids today should be, should they get a little tap on the ass from time to time, or whatever. But I am of the opinion that, as I mentioned, that discipline is definitely needed. In some form, it is definitely needed, because kids today are kind of terrible these days. I ain't gonna lie to you. So Life is rough, and you have to kind of like give them a little reinforcement from time to time if you so desire. That's me as a parent. Now, y'all may not do that, but there are others who do that. So with that being said, we're gonna bring you my guest, talk to her a little bit, and then we're gonna get into that discussion of ass whipping. How you doing today?
Hey, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Can you speak a little bit?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
All right, I can hear you now. Tell everybody where you from. What a little bit of history about yourself. Who you is.
Who I is?
Yeah, who you is. Tell them who you is.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm a native Washingtonian, Washington, D.C. I was born and raised in Washington, D.C. And I moved to Israel. I immigrated to Israel in 2008. And I've been here since.
Okay. How you like it out there? How you doing, Maria? How do you like it out there in Israel?
Hey, it's pretty cool.
For real.
Yeah.
I'm gonna move out there one day. You know what I'm saying? And once I get my change up, once this YouTube channel blows up, and once the embroidery business blows up, you know what I'm saying? Hopefully I'll be able to move out there. Say hello to my guest. Say hello to my guest, Maria. She's all the way from Italy.
Hey, Maria. How you doing?
Okay, we're gonna turn this music down because I'll make sure you hear it. So, again, I am glad to have my guest who's gonna talk with me about whipping. You ever been whipped before as a kid?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Ooh, yes, I
Really?
have. I
bet those legs hurt, huh?
Yeah, we had the switch, we had the belt, and sometimes the shoe. And where I grew up, I heard even the hangers.
Oh Lord. Okay, we're gonna talk about we're gonna talk about those different forms of discipline and whatnot, and whether since you have been disciplined, do you think that that form of discipline still works today? So with that being said, what do you think about the different forms of punishment, like whipping? We'll use, for lack of better words, we'll use the term of hitting your kids versus just talking to them and things of the nature. What's your opinion about that, Debbie?
Well, I can only say the way that I've grown up and the way that I've raised my children.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I think it's not a one size fits all situation. It depends on your children, and also it depends on the culture.
Okay. Now we're gonna stop you right there and focus on what you just stated. It depends on the children. Be more specific as to what you mean about that.
Well, it depends on the environment where your children are being raised, how they're being raised, where they're growing up, because every situation is different. Every parental environment is different. Some children come from single parent households, living in the projects. Some children grow up with grandparents. Some children grow up with both parents.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you speak of your environment versus the type of discipline, let's equate that to what you actually mean. Give them an example in terms of what do you mean when you say yes, they deserve to be disciplined because of the environment. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I will give you a prime example.
Sure.
I don't know what it's like to grow up in a suburb, okay? But I grew up in the projects, and you had a lot of peer pressure. And there was a lot of peer pressure to disobey or follow the crowd versus listening to your parent, who was most of the time single parent household. So you had that element all the time, and you're dealing with it. And you're dealing with other children in the same situation, single parent households, a lot of children. I grew up an only child, so I didn't know what it was like to have siblings sleeping in the same room or sleeping in the same bed. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So that part I won't be able to speak to, but what I can see is that there are consequences behind all of those things. And there has to be room for discipline because at that point, your character is being molded. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Mhm. Now, as far as molding a person, as far as a person's character being molded and whatnot, because the parents are responsible for helping
Hmm.
mold a person's character. And like I said, it's a touchy situation. What forms, or do you think that uh, let's see, talking to a kid or versus giving them a little extra heat on their rear end, which one do you think, or what would I mean, is a better way, or just depends on that child, or what's your opinion in regards to that? Because I may use, one form of disciplining versus what you would use, especially like you mentioned, according to the person's environment.
Yes. For example, with my children, each they are so different. So the punishment or the discipline that I would give to them would be different because I acknowledge them differently. And
Mm,
there are, like, I had a cousin who says you have to treat them all the same.
mm,
But if you have children that have different temperaments, when you recognize the differences and you begin to work towards strengthening the positive aspects of that child, emotionally and physically, then you are paying attention to the whole child and
that's
not
right.
trying to put them in a single basket
That's
because
right.
it's easier. And
So
that's what
go ahead, babe.
that's what we've been accustomed to, in our culture is treating everybody the same. But you can't. This is not an institution. Yeah.
That's very important because
Hmm.
what you, I agree wholeheartedly with what you said, because you have to look. Okay, if you have two kids, three, let's say two kids, Johnny and Paul, and Paul has a little extra, he does he gets into a little extra, as opposed to Johnny, who doesn't and goes a different route. You can't use the same form of discipline as you would on Paul, as you would Johnny and whatnot. Is that safe to say what you're talking about?
That's correct. That's exactly true.
Now, in this instance, do you feel that, okay, so we'll continue with Paul and Johnny. Paul being the little mischievous type. Do you think that this type of technique will work, or is this more of a trial and error, or what's your opinion when it comes to something like you talk? Okay, we'll just give Johnny a little extra or touch up on his rear end versus talking to Paul, or vice versa, talking to Johnny and giving him just a little talking to. Do you think that those approaches may work, or you just have to try them out, or is no textbook way of actually determining whether
That's
this?
right. There's no textbook. Um, this, we are not in a textbook situation. You cannot apply psychology to the behavior of your child because what happens is, again, we're talking about that single one size fits all.
Mhm.
That professional may know how to provide techniques to manipulate your child's behavior.
Mhm.
But in essence, there's no discipline. If you don't have any discipline, then that child is going to always look towards somebody or something that will be able to manipulate his mind. And
Yep,
therefore, he doesn't have control over himself.
that's
And
right.
that's not what we want to do with our children. We want to let them know that, hey, if I spank you or if I, smack you behind or whatever you want to call it as a form of discipline, then what have you learned? Because if I don't smack you behind and if I don't discipline you at home, then when you go out in the street, somebody is going to either discipline you worse and you might not even be able to live through it.
Mhm.
So that's our whole point of coming from our culture.
Okay.
That's our point.
I like that. Now, you need to take a second because you to drink a little water.
Oh, yes.
Okay,
Thank
good.
you.
We are
My
speak.
voice.
We are speaking with Debbie, y'all. My friend, all the way from Israel. We just shooting. We just chopping it up, talking about disciplining kids. Do you think that kids deserve to be uh, ass whipped? When I say ass whip, I'm not speaking of just tearing their ass up. I'm just trying, give them a little spanking, sort of. Getting back to the subject at hand, you ready?
Yes.
Do you think whipping your kids has or can have an adverse effect on them? Like the more you whip them, they may turn out to be a violent type of person. Or, well, that's part one of the question. I'll ask next. Go ahead.
Well, I think that if the whooping, or you see that the discipline that you're using is not helping, and there's no change, then I think that there needs to be more of an investigation as to what's going on, because it could be many things. It could be domestic violence. It could be the child is suffering from something else and he's acting out because he's not able to express himself. So we as parents have to be able to determine, where our child is once we discipline them. Is it working? If it's not working. I mean, I've been in a situation, even with my own children,
Hmm.
where there has been, that line from whipping your child to abusing your child. I've been in that situation where, the parent becomes the abuser. Why? Because the child seems so out of control. But later realizing that I was providing an unsafe environment for my child, and he couldn't function in that environment.
And before you go further, let's create a line of demarcation between. And I like what you said, whipping versus oh my God.
Beating.
Yeah. What, how do you draw the line? Is it, when it gets excessive or what? Explain to the audience more. How you doing, Ed? More so what, how do you draw the line between that? Because, some people
I,
take it overboard.
yeah, I think it's a matter of when you've grown exasperated, when you've exasperated, when you're exasperated in the situation. If you're beating your child, or if you're whipping your child out of anger, and
Hmm.
frustration, this is a sign that you have to step back, because it's no longer about the child, it's about you as a parent.
Hmm.
Because now the parent feels out of control. The child is not listening. The child it keeps doing the same old thing. It's not learning, or whatever the case may be.
Hmm.
And that's a reflection on the parent. As we in our culture, everything, that child is a reflection of our home, our house. We know, you know that. This is,
Great point.
you see what I'm saying? This is our culture. When you go out in the street, you better look like you come from somewhere. You better not look like you come from the hood.
Hmm.
You may live in the hood, but you better not look.
Hmm.
You don't look like you come from the hood. And that's one of the things that is instilled in us, is a sense of self pride. And no matter what your environment is, that you must have some form of pride about yourself.
Hmm.
So when it
Go ahead.
so when it comes to whipping the child, their reflection, and that reflection stems back on us.
Great
We
point.
get it exasperates us, in other
Great.
words, and that brings on anger.
Now, as far as whipping kids, that's a great point. Do you think you can? And this may or may not make sense, but I've heard people actually doing this. Can you whip a child and then talk to them later, or talk to them first and then give them a spanking? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm whipping you because, or after you whip them, look, I still love you, but I have to do this. Do you think that has a negative or positive effect in raising kids,
It
children?
depends on the child, because
You know what I'm
because I
saying?
have
Like, I'm whipping you because I love you, wham.
yeah
Or, or I'm gonna give you this lick. I still love you, but I'm gonna spank that behind. You know what kind of effect do you think that would have on children?
Well, I think the parent is trying to make himself feel good. Because I had a situation with my own dad. My dad never put his hands on me. He never whipped me. Okay.
Mm,
But this one time he had to whip me. Okay.
mm.
But you know what he did? He called me into the room and he says, this is going to hurt me more than it hurts you.
I've heard people saying that.
He put me over his knee and he just smacked my butt.
Mm. How many
And
how many smacks did you get? Did he just
one,
okay?
and you know what? It didn't hurt, but it hurt my feelings.
I understand, I understand that. I mean, because I've heard people say, "Well, this is gonna hurt me more than it hurts you," and
Yeah.
now, where do you? I mean, we're not gonna get into the culture aspect just yet because we're gonna come back with part two. But where do you think people have gotten the idea? Just not black, not white, just people all of all the entire spectrum. Where do you think they've gotten the idea of actually using is it corporal punishment, using that on kids? What do you think they've gotten that from?
Are
Whipping a
you
kid.
referring to the slave thing?
Well, no, I don't want to touch on that yet. But I'm just saying, what just if you're Caucasian, if you are just people in general, if you're Caucasian, if you're Asian, if you're black, if whatever. Why do you think it's a must that people do that instead of just using other forms of punishment, just talking to them and things of that nature?
Because a child is not mature enough, and a child is not born knowing right from wrong. Okay, it's up to the parent to guide that child and to be that. God made an order. Okay, He created an order of things. You are the authority over that child, no matter how old the child becomes. Okay, but there is a time that the child is to be prepared for a certain life and a certain lifestyle. And at a certain age, when that child is the age of accountability, that means that they're responsible enough, mentally and physically responsible for their own behavior. Okay. So we as parents are responsible for that chunk of time in that child's life. And that's when I talk about molding the character, because it's from that point.
Okay.
When
Now let me
that child, go ahead.
I was gonna say, let me stop you right there. Suppose people, what do you say to those? I'm gonna get to your question. I'm gonna get to your little statement that you said, Ed. I think that's a very good statement. Suppose, what do you say to naysayers who say, well, you don't have to, necessarily have to spank a child in order to do what you're saying? What do you say to those individuals? To each his own, or you what? What do you say?
It depends on the individual. I think every parent know their child, and also it depends on the environment. I'll give you an example. And what I was going to go back to, I wanted to finish. I want to finish what I was trying to get to, and that's the point where when a child does something wrong and you don't correct that child, and they go out and they get corrected by somebody else, okay, that correction could be twice as damaging than the spanking that they would get at home. That correction outside of the home could actually scar the child for life. But you've missed, as a parent, you've missed your point. You've missed your opportunity. Because now you have to deal with constant troubles and all, because they've been, corrected outside of the home. And I'll give you a prime example.
Sure.
I worked at the jail, and this was during the time that DC was the nation's capital, the nation's murder capital. Okay. And I saw kids coming through the jail, okay, 14, 15, 16 years old. What were they doing in a lockdown 24 or 23-hour cell? because they killed somebody. Not one, not one person, but two and three, because the drug dealers were using them
Mm-hmm.
because they can afford to spend their little time,
In
their
jail.
25 years in jail and not you lose too much, so
Mm-hmm.
to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So the streets didn't care for them. Okay. But I remember asking one little guy, he was 14 years old. What does your mother think about you being in here?
Mm-hmm.
He said, she doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine hearing that from a 14-year-old with three body beefs?
Wow.
So, had this child been disciplined at home, had he been told, even shown that, hey, I'm spanking you because I love you, I don't want you out in the streets, I don't want you getting hurt, then he might not have been there.
Okay. Great
So
analogy.
I'm
Great.
just I'm just giving you an example of, you know, many people that are, you know, psychologists and psychiatrists and things like that, they don't live in these neighborhoods. You know, they don't raise these children. They're not in the place and they're not in the positions of the parents. So you can't come in and say you need to treat your child, you need to stop doing this. No, give them the tools that they need and then help them or teach them how not to abuse their child while they're disciplining.
Okay. Okay, great point. We're gonna take a pause for the calls. Again, we're speaking with, I don't know why I always want to say that we are speaking with my girl Debbie from Israel. She is also an author. She's written. Tell briefly. Well, let me mention this. Ed had stated that my man Ed he he said some parents beat their kids because they were beaten as some parents beat their kids because they were beaten. He said he doesn't beat his kids because of the experience in which he has. I'm paraphrasing, with being beat by his parents or whatnot. So you want to comment on that or
Yes, that's understandable because he's learned that there is a difference between beating and abusing. I mean, not beating and abusing, but disciplining and abusing. And that's what I was saying. You know, when you have the proper tools, you know exactly where to draw the line. You know, when you are angry, you don't beat your child. When you are frustrated, you don't beat your child or you don't spank your child. Sorry, not to use beating,
mm,
but
mm,
but yes, in a lot of cases, parents grew up, under discipline and a high hand or a difficult situation, abuse also. But when you understand this, then you're willing to get that help to help you to understand where that line is and
mm.
apply the discipline appropriately. Then that's a
I
difference.
like that.
But
I like we just said applied discipline appropriately.
appropriately,
Yep.
yes,
And also
because
to also to fit the situation, because
right.
if you have a child, you drop and he drops some water on the floor, you
Hmm.
don't overreact and go berserk versus just talking to him and whatnot. But there are some people that actually just take it to another level, and there's no need for that to happen.
Well, again, that goes back to the parents. There are a lot of resources out here to help parents with parenting. And with that information, you can actually develop a different type of discipline and how you discipline your children. With the information, it's about getting information. It's not withdrawing from discipline at all because of your situation. That doesn't help our children. What it does, it allows them to go out and allow other people to discipline them. So it's about information. It's about gathering information.
Okay. Well, let me take a pause for a call and comment on. some of these individuals. And if y'all have anything y'all, if y'all don't have any comments or anything y'all want to add to the discussion, like Maria, like Ed, like Danny, please do so. The rest of y'all who are on here, make sure y'all go to the YouTube channel and hit that like. Give me some thumbs up, man, as I
Thumbs up.
intervene. Yeah, do that for your boy. Um, let's switch gears and talk about just briefly a little bit about you are visually impaired, right?
Yeah.
Um, as far as disciplining your kids when they were young, I don't know if there are different ways that blind people do it versus sighted people, but I know how I had disciplined my kids, and I want you to just share a form of or some forms of discipline as a blind parent. What did you use with your kids? Did you use and did you whip their ass, or did you talk with them, or did you put them in timeout? Briefly talk about that.
Well, I won't be able to speak to that because I wasn't visually impaired then. My eyesight was, the disease was pretty stable during my adult years.
Mm.
So my sight loss is pretty recent, like 2011, 2012.
Well, let's speak on what you've heard. Have you spoken with any blind people who have raised kids and gotten?
So I'm waiting for you to
Oh,
tell me.
okay, great. Put me on the hot seat.
Yeah.
Well, as I mentioned in this show, we are not advocating whipping or whatnot, but let the
Mhm.
truth be told, this is the rough to society, as I mentioned at the top of the of the discussion. And sometimes you may have to give the kid a little extra attention, and let the punishment fit the crime, of course. But as a parent, you do as you wish with your child. So because of the fact that she asked me, I'm gonna give my humble opinion. And you say, yes, my kids were spanked. um I was spanked, and I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but I feel that sometimes talking to a child after a certain point in time, it doesn't work. In my opinion, so you have to, bring a little attention. Now, let's say I'm not saying that it worked or not, but I can say that the kids that I've raised have turned out to be pretty good. But as a blind parent,
Mhm.
I use sometimes I use putting them in timeout, but I mainly had taken away like I have a 7-year-old now. I had taken away some of the things that he or she loves, and that was a form of punishment. But the actual whipping was like the last result and what have you. So it was like a combination of everything. But the timeout, I never really was a fond proponent of that. So I mainly, take something from them, and and if that doesn't work at that point in time, then I give them a little spanking, and I give them a hug afterwards. And like my 7-year-old, I tell them why Dad whipped them or what I'm about to do, and for the most part, they've gotten it together. Do you want to comment on that?
Well, it sounds like you've pretty much mastered the technique and how to deal with your children. You seem to understand their personality. You understand where their behaviors are coming from.
Mhm.
And also, there seems to be communication going on, which is very nice. So I commend you on your method of discipline. And if you see that your children aren't aggressive in response to your discipline, I mean, all
Mhm.
good.
Mhm. Yeah. Now I agree. Danny, he just posted in the comments said there are different, and which is what we had touched on. There are different ways of different techniques of discipline, and spanking should be the last result. You know what I'm saying? I mean, now, like as I mentioned earlier, and my guess, there are some overzealous parents who and this may have something to do with a person's age, because most parents are like now 18, 17, they don't have the patience. But
Mhm.
if you have a situation where you can't discipline them the right way or whatever, find some type of assistance, or call somebody, or call get help, right, Debbie?
Yes,
Speak on that.
yes.
Speak on that. You want
Well,
to
I
talk?
think because we have it takes a village to raise a child. That saying and that proverb is not said for nothing. And we should realize that. We hear our parents, we hear even ourselves. For example, when I was little, my cousin and I would play with matches. Okay. And our neighbor upstairs came down and caught us. Okay. And when we were in the house, they said, our parents said, were you out there playing with matches? And we said, no. Oh, Mr. Such and such a line, right?
Yep, that sounds like that's good.
And we would pause for a moment. We would say, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like
and
something.
that's where we get our butt whooped, okay? Because see, we first of all, we did two things wrong, okay? You never say that an adult lied. That's disrespectful. Number two, you shouldn't have been playing with matches in the first place, because you could have burnt yourself, and you could have hurt yourself, and you could have burnt everything else.
True. And that's where punishment fits the crime. And when we come back with part two, we're definitely going to talk more about the culture where we feel it kind of stems from and what have you. Ed says that he talks about how they've now made that he feels that it's wrong to consider whipping your child a crime and what have you. I mean, you want to comment on that or
a crime?
Yeah, he said. Let me see. He said he also believes that it's wrong for it to be declared a crime for whipping your kids. I guess that's where he is. I haven't been following the news. Go ahead.
I think when there is a limit, because you have to find that line between abuse and discipline. And sometimes some parents don't know that line. You don't beat a child. You don't spank a child until they have marks on them.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right. Oh yeah. And like I said, that's what we're talking about. If you can't discipline your kids, and sometimes, like I said, it may have to do with a person's age, and I'm not,
exactly.
But definitely get some help, because your attention span may not be long.
Oh my goodness!
You know what I'm saying? And you have that problem. Go ahead.
I just want to share something that really affected me when I was young. I had a sister, a stepsister that came to live with us. Okay. And when she was pregnant with her first child at 17, I think. And I just remember as this young child watching her with my little nephew, cursing him. I mean, cursing him and biting her finger. You're going to make me kill you. Stuff like that. I remember that. And that was so etched in my brain and my mind as a child. It was devastating. This little baby, he would cry, and she would just like, I'm going to kill you. So I grew up in that. So I understand, there has to be, this was a baby in the high chair. And because she was young. But that's no excuse for
definitely no excuse. Definitely. Well, Vicky, I see you here, girl. She talks about she's mentioning about people speaking. There are different cultures. Let me see what she says about. She said she thinks every house is different. She said that her daughter's father is Jamaican, and they had different views on whipping. So basically, people are gonna have, as I mentioned at the top, people are gonna have varying opinions about how to discipline and what should be the proper punishment and what have you. But definitely you have it's to each his own. I mean, you should know your limits, and you should know what your child can and cannot do, because like Debbie was saying. At a children's young age, you're molding them and whatnot. If you constantly whipping them, said that it could, in my opinion, could have some adverse effect. Or if you're just constantly talking to them and talking to them and talking to them and talking to them, that that's not working, you have to find another way. You know what I'm saying? So there are different techniques. Speaking of techniques, do you know of a lot of techniques that you can share for maybe, let's say, newly become parents, that they can use as opposed, or maybe an alternative to whipping their ass? I like saying that. What methods,
I
are techniques, or do you know?
Well, as a blind person, I'm not too sure because I
Just
don't
just
have
a
that
parent in general,
experience.
just a parent in general.
It's been a long time since I've been a, I'm a grandma,
Mhm.
so um, grandmas are a little.
Exactly. Say no more, because my mama. I can speak on my mother all day about her grandmother skills. Because we got a lot of they're getting away with a lot of things. As we side note, they're getting
So
away with a
I
lot of
won't even
things.
go there. I can't even.
So okay, what about, let me throw some out at you. Like, do you think timeout is a great parenting? And then we're just speaking. We're not
Time
advocating
out.
one. Because some people like say, well, I think timeout maybe, but this is our opinion and our opinion only. Do you think what's your opinion about timeout?
Well, I did. I have worked in organizations or worked as a child development assistant, teacher's assistant, and we had timeout. And I think timeout may work for younger kids, but for older kids, I think it wouldn't be so effective, but for younger kids, definitely.
What about talking to kids, like, look, as opposed to punishing them
I
with
think
with a whipping?
I think talking and communication should actually start when the child is in grade school and when you're able to do homework with your child, I think that's when the communication starts.
Okay, repeat that again, girl, because I was
I said when you're able to do homework with your child,
mhm.
help your child with homework, that's where the communication starts.
Okay, great point. Great point.
Because when they're bringing homework and they
Mhm,
need help with homework,
mhm.
then you are actually having that communication. You're communicating with them. So when they need to be disciplined, that is the time when you have that same type of environment and you're talking to them. So they're used to that. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. Great point.
They're already used to it. So I think that's the best time to start the communication and start the talking when the discipline comes.
And that's why I bring you on here, because you're very knowledgeable. And as the music comes on, we getting ready to conclude. But I'm glad that you all were a participant for this particular topic. I really enjoyed it, sharing this particular topic, man, because today's society kids, man, some of them are out of line. I ain't gonna lie, they disrespectful to elderly, and
Mm-hmm.
they just don't give a care. But you make your own decision about how you raise your churn. I'm gonna say it down south. How you raise your churn. And again, we're not advocating to go out and get a belt and whip them. But we're just basically throwing out some things out there, because you were whipped and you turned out to be a very good child, huh?
Yeah, I think that's why I turned out the way that I turned out.
Okay. Well, my friend, what's next for you? What you got going on? Because tell everybody about the books that you're writing, where they can find them at.
Oh, okay. On Amazon, I have a couple of memoirs. One memoir and a sequel. It's called Exploiting Bondages, and I'm working on a children's book about sight loss. Currently, I'm working on myopia, and the name of the book is called Bessie Busy Bee, and I'm going to have Anthony to do an embroidery of Mrs. Busy Bee for
Okay.
me
Okay. No
because
problem.
I want some T-shirts,
Okay.
and I'm doing a series for her, and it's a great book. It's a children's book, And it talks about myopia and how, she's working in the beehive and everything. So she talks about going to the doctor. So it's a really, I have fun writing it.
Okay. Well, what we're gonna do? Set up. This is the first time, and because I like you, you're very knowledgeable. You're always, whenever I need you, you're always there. We're gonna set up a time one Saturday where we're gonna promote your book, nothing but promote, and we're gonna give away a few of them. You know what I'm saying? Because you have to give away a few of them in order to get it out there and whatnot. If you
Oh,
don't
yeah.
mind, okay.
Yeah.
So we're gonna pick on one Saturday, whenever you're
Okay.
ready, and sit back. You get you a couple of drinks. We're gonna shoot. We're gonna shoot it for a couple of hours or whatever, and we're actually gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? Because I think it, it deserves to be put out there, especially from a black person's point of view.
Well,
But
thank you.
no
Thank
problem, no
you.
problem. And this is always a home for you and everyone else. If you have any discussions, any particular topics you want to share with Third Eye Visions, where we motivate the blind, stimulate your mind, and welcome all kind, feel free to hit me up, Parker Anthony 225 at gmail.com, and I'm gonna put you on and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? So again, Debbie, I want to thank you. I'm about to end this little thing, but hit me up later on once I get off here. And
Okay. Well, thanks for having me,
no,
Anthony.
thanks for coming on. And I'm glad the connection was great because you like 25 billion miles away. What time is it right now?
I have no clue. I have no clue. But hey, everybody, I hope you guys get out there and you also do your writing, everyone can write something. So get out there, publish some books, go on Amazon, do your self-publishing. Trust me, it's not that difficult. I encourage you to all take that time out and just go for it.
All right, go ahead on, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. And don't go beat your kids, cause we ain't say that. we
No,
ain't
no, no,
say
no.
we ain't say go whip your kids. No, don't say that. Don't say that.
They're gonna say Aunt told me to beat
Yep.
you.
This is for you. This is for Debbie because they told me to beat your kids. No, y'all,
No,
use your own judgment. We're laughing and everything, you know
I'm
what I'm saying?
gonna
But
beat. You're
this
gonna beat me.
you
You're gonna
told
beat
Harpo to
me.
beat me. This is a serious matter, but y'all
He told
love
me.
y'all. Go to YouTube channel, subscribe. Hit that thumbs up, and I'll
You
talk to
told
y'all
Hopo to beat me.
tomorrow morning with another exciting show. Bye, Debbie.
Bye bye.
All
Bye.
right. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for supporting Third Eye Visions, man. I'm telling you, I really, really enjoyed this topic. Please go to I really need y'all to go to YouTube channel. It's hiding here. Thank you so much, Danny. Y'all have any comments y'all want to say before I leave? Y'all go to my YouTube channel, hit that like button. I know I said it several times because I need y'all so I can get this analytics up and when I want to thank everybody from Danny to Vicky to First Amendment Ed, man. We gotta do something again together. Maria all the way from Italy. If I got names, if I've forgotten y'all, it was nothing intentionally. Y'all have anything y'all want to say before I conclude? Thank you, Vicky. Thank you so much. I couldn't have done it, man. Vicky has been down with me since man, like day one. I really appreciate it. I'm telling y'all, it's hot up in here. I'm telling y'all, when I say I appreciate this, I really do, man. For real, it gives me a great sense of joy when I'm able to do stuff like this, man. Because I'm going through things with this, trying to find the right job, and it's depressing. But when I get on here and share these stories with you all, it really just takes everything away. I'm putting the air on. So, any more comments y'all want to add? Oh, thank you so much, Vicky. You are a breath of fresh air. Thanks so much. Thank you so much. So, thanks again to my man Jeff Wayne for the music. And I'm about to get up out of here. I've been on here too long. Bye.